All right. Well, good evening. We'll go ahead and get started tonight. First of all, Renee, please show all board members present. And if you'll join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
We have to have a public hearing first.
I'm sorry, we have a public hearing first. I apologize.
But y'all did that really
I
well.
apologize.
My fault.
No.
That was just practice.
Just to
Yeah.
exercise.
Dr. Daigle.
Yep. What we're going to do today is present the 2016 budgets. So Renee, go ahead, next one. When we do the budget process, one of the things that the state of Indiana tells us is that we have to advertise the appropriation high. Because we're doing the budget, a lot of times we don't have all the information. We just finally know what our ADM count is. So we advertise the tax levy low. We advertise the tax rate high. And we've met with directors on their budgets, their wish lists, and the schools have submitted all their CPF wish lists to us. So that's kind of where we start. And we start probably in May and start working on it through August and have to get everything done by September 1 because we have to send our information into the county now, which is the new requirement. So when you look at tuition support per ADM, which is average daily membership, in 2015 we are receiving $5,850 per student. And in 2016, it will be $5,873, so we're actually getting $22.83 more per student. When you look at the general fund, in 2015, state support, we got $66,916,000, and you can see the interest, and these are the major categories that we have. So in 15, we had $68,350,000. In 16, I estimated high, assuming, rightfully so, because we had 2 years of growth, but this year we had a decrease. So when you compare this year's ADM numbers to last year's ADM numbers, we're down 220 some kids. So that's about a $1.2 million loss we're going to see. So really in the state support for 2016, I advertised $70,427,000. It'll probably be closer to about $65.3 million. So you can see it'll be less than what we're getting in 15. The estimated expenditures, again, I guesstimated high, just because we had to protect the school district. Those numbers in 16 will definitely come down. We'll only be able to budget with the amount of money that we get from the state. So you can see all the different categories that we have: kindergarten, elementary, middle school, how much we have budgeted for each category. Next one. When you still look, then you go to payments to others, which would be like co-op payments that we have to pay. Then we have support services for pupils, instructions, general administration, school administration, central services, student transportation. So you can see I went up about $2.4 million, and that's about a good number for a $70 million budget, but again, it won't be that high. Go ahead. Next fund that we have is debt service, and the reason it had a big jump in property tax is one of the things that we have to do is we spread our tax cap loss over 5 funds instead of 3. The board does a resolution every year for me. So instead of capital projects, transportation, and bus replacement taking the brunt of our tax caps of $2.3 million loss, we get to spread it over debt service, pension debt, and transportation, capital projects, and bus replacement. So we really have to make up the cash balance that I've lost in property tax. So you can see on the rest of these, all you'll see is property, excise, CVET. There's no state support in any of these. FIT is financial income tax. CADGET is county adjusted gross income tax, and then other. When you look at the expenditures, you look at our bonds, our interest. TAW is tax anticipation warrant interest. We budget $200,000. Holding corporation are the big bond issues that we've done. Common school loans are the loans that we do for technology every year to have the lease on our computers. The bond registrar fees, and then textbook rental is the amount of money that came in after October 31st, where we can go ahead and put it into the debt service for people that were qualified after October 31st, because we have to get all of our information in by October 31st to get reimbursed from the state. Okay. Pension debt. We sold a pension bond a number of years ago, and As the years go on, the principal goes up, so you can see the property taxes are going up a little bit. Also, it's to make up for the cash that we lost in the pension bond. Again, you see excise tax, CVET is commercial vehicle excise tax, and then you have your FIT also. Okay. On your expenditures, it's just for the one bond that we have. So that's $1,266,000, no big change there. Okay. Capital projects. I always advertise high on capital projects. We actually have a frozen cap on the tax rate. We can't exceed 41 cents per $100 of assessed valuation. So in 2016, I budgeted $9.3 million in property taxes. It's not going to be anywhere near that. It'll be closer to the $7 million property tax in 15. Again, it's all excise, CVET, financial institution. They're all basically pretty close to where we were in 15 that we are in 16. When you look at the expenditures, we have technology services, which is for our tech guys, systems application, which could be for a lot of the software that we're buying, the hardware that we're buying. We have money in there for professional development. We budget $1.9 million, which is the most we can budget per state law out of capital projects for utility. Maintenance of equipment that we have to do, we take property casualty insurance out of here. Land acquisition, we throw that in. Professional services would be for like architects' fees, things of that nature. Then we have building acquisition and construction. This is basically paying for anything that the buildings really need, new boilers, things of that nature that are small in size or dollar value. Mobile equipment, we have skilled craft employees, $934,000. So you can see we're at $9.4 million. That'll come down also. Okay. Transportation is always my problem child. Here you can see we're going up about $600,000 in property taxes, but it won't go up that high. Everything else is pretty consistent with where we're at. So we actually went up about $400,000 in revenue is what I'm projecting. Again, there's a limit that we can go up on that. I think it's 3.4% on property tax. Okay. On the expenditures, service area directions for all the offices that we have, all the people in the office that we have. Vehicle operation is for your bus drivers, your aides. Maintenance of fleet is all the supplies, the fuel, tires, things like that. It also includes the mechanics. Vehicle insurance, we have $200,000 in there for all the buses. Contracted transportation is for the contracted drivers. We pay a part of their salary out of transportation operating, and then we have other transportation services, so we're up about $350,000 there. Bus replacement fund, this is where we can just buy buses with that. Going up a little bit, $150,000 roughly. You can see excise, CVET, financial institution, again, hasn't really gone up much. Almost $100,000. And when you're buying buses, brand new buses will cost you $100,000, so that's basically one extra bus that we could buy. Bus replacement, $1,045,000 for buses is what we're doing. Trying to spread the money out a little bit more. We're buying 2- and 3-year-old buses instead of brand new buses. They still have the same kind of warranty on the motor, which is the main important thing that you want to look at. Contracted services, here's the other half of our contracted drivers that we have in Jeff, Charlestown, and New Washington. So you can see there the big difference. Okay. Rainy day fund, if we have to use any of the money, I'm budgeting up to $1 million now instead of going in for an additional appropriation sometime next year. And the expenditures would be up to $1 million also if necessary. Okay. When you look at the assessed valuation, this was really interesting because in 2009 we were at $2.5 billion. Our tax rate was 83 cents. 2010 it was 2.4. It dropped. 2011 it went up 5 million. And then you can see it started dropping 12, 13, 14. Look at the tax rate. So as our AV drops, our tax rate goes up to generate the same amount of money or a little bit more. And then in 15, lo and behold, we had a $60 million increase and our tax rate dropped 13 cents. I love to hear that. That's music to my ears anytime I could see the tax rate drop. Okay, decisions impacting assessed values, and this is for all taxpayers to know. Tax caps. You pay 1% on your home, 2 and 3%. It was written into the state constitution. Everybody voted on it back in 2010, I think it was. Tax increment financing districts, or TIFs as they're commonly called. We have 31 TIF districts in Clark County. It is taking up $700 million of assessed valuation. If we can get that AV released by these redevelopment commissions, our tax rate would drop, our tax caps would drop. Tax abatements. So anytime there's a new business coming in, a lot of times what they do to induce them to come into a city or a town, they'll give them a tax abatement. And what that means is they abate the taxes for up to 10 years. So the first year you pay 0 tax, the business. Second year you pay 10%, and 20, 30, 40, all the way up to 100%. A super abatement is a 20-year abatement. Now, I went to a seminar last year, and on the tax abatement and super abatements, they say now they can actually go 0 taxes for 10 years on the abatement, or 0 taxes for 20 years on the super abatement. How does that affect everybody? We're all paying more in property taxes because none of this gets included into our numbers, okay? Tax cap losses. I keep track of this every year because, you know, it started in 2010, 1%, the Clark County lost 375 to the 1% club, which is homeowners 2 and 3 are commercial and industrial. They lost 2.5 million. Greater Clark lost 811,000 spread out among our 3 funds. 2011, you could see the numbers jumped. Look at 2014, we lost 3,074,000. The county as a whole lost 11.2 million for the 2 and 3 and 3 million for the 1%. So in 6 years, the county has lost $12.7 million for the 1%. 2 and 3%, they lost 39 million. So the total county loss was almost $52 million in 6 years in property taxes. Greater Clark has lost 12 million, almost 12.1 million. That's a lot of money that was taken away from capital projects, transportation operating, and bus replacement. So we're losing about 23% of the total, is what we're doing, okay? Tax rates. The higher the tax rate, the more you're susceptible to the tax caps. In Jeff City, for example, the levy is 24 million. That's your assessed value, or no, that's your levy. The tax rate is $1.77. Charlestown, it's only 2 million for their levy. It's $1.11. Clarksville is 11 million. Theirs is $1.48. Tax rate for West Clark schools is $1.10. Clarksville's is $1.46. Greater Clark, we're at 93 cents. So our tax rate for the school district is really the lowest among the 3 schools in our county. And we're actually the lowest among the cities too. Okay. When you look at how you build your tax rate, so you look at Jeff City, the school corp is Greater Clark County Schools. The county rate is 41 cents. The city town is $1.77. Our tax rate is 93 cents. All the other taxing entities that are in Clark County are 13, almost 14 cents. So the district rate is $3.26. Anytime you're over $3, that's when your tax caps really hit on your 1% for your property tax for your home. So you can look at Jeff City, they're at 338. Jeff City, Utica Township, outside the flood wall. OFW is outside the flood wall. I found that out. I never had that up north. We didn't have flood walls. IFW is inside the flood wall. So you can see Jeff City, OFW is 318, Charlestown is 263, Clarksville is 324, and Clarksville outside the flood wall is 312. Okay, next one. Now when you look at the tax cap credits, here you see what I'm trying to explain to you is the higher the tax rate, the more tax credits you're going to lose for your city. So Jeff City outside the flood wall, their tax cap credit that they lost was 4.1 million. Their tax rate is $3.26. Jeff City inside the flood wall, they lost 1.9 million. Their tax rate was $3.38. So you can just see as you go down, you know, Clarksville's $3.12. They only lost 482 $62,000. This is really interesting stuff. I love numbers. Okay. Expected appropriations. In our general fund, we had a $71 million working appropriation. We'll come to you here shortly to reduce that because it's not going to be that high. We're not going to be able to fund it. 2016, we advertised 73, and really in 2016, I had 69,250, but that was before I knew we were losing 220 kids. So I think we're going to be closer to about 66.7 million. So that's a big difference. Debt service, we're expecting about 11,250,000, so it'll be about a $225,000 increase over where we are this year. Pension debt almost stays the same. CPF, we're at 8.5 million for 15, which we're not going to be able to fund all of that, so we're going to have to reduce that. We'll be closer to 7 million. Transportation operating, we're at 5 million, almost 5,300,000 this year. I think we'll be closer to 5.5, 5.6, somewhere around there. Bus replacement, that should be pretty close, 1,695,000. Rainy day fund, we're asking for $1 million. So we advertised $104 million budget, and we'll be closer probably to about 95 billion. Okay. When you look at the tax levies, this is what we're going to base your taxes on, how much money we need. General fund, there is no tax levy. The state picks that up. That's all paid by sales tax when it increased from 6 to 7%. Debt service, we're looking at a levy of about 11,839,000. We're at 11,022,000, so we're going up about 800,000, and that's to pick up the cash that we use to spread out the tax credits. Pension, 1,266,000. It went up about 20,000. Capital projects should be right around $7 million bucks. When you look at transportation operating, 5,004,000. That may be right about where it should be. Bus replacement, 1,004,000, that should be good. And rainy day fund, there's no tax rate on that. So we're looking, we advertised 30.3 million as our expected tax levy. I think it'll be closer to 27 million, okay? The tax rates, when you look at these, general fund, there is no tax rate. Debt service, we should be around 49 cents is what we're thinking. We're at 33 now. Now, again, we don't know what our assessed valuation is for next year, so we're basing this on 2.3 billion of assessed valuation. We're at 2.360. So if we go up to 2.4 billion, that tax rate will come down. Pension will be around 5 cents, which it is now. Capital projects, 29, should be the same. Transportation operating going up 2 cents. Bus replacement going up a half a penny. Rainy day, nothing. So we advertised $1.46. It'll be closer to $1.12, and we're currently at 93. So I think $1.12 will be close, but if the assessed valuation does jump up above $2,360,000,000, that $1.12 will come down. Okay. So after 2 years of a small enrollment gain, we're looking at a decline. That really hurts me. I was hoping we'd have just a continued increase on our ADM. Funding in the general fund is primarily tied to enrollment. It's all tied to enrollment. There's very little else coming in there. The funding formula showed us increasing by 1.7% and 1.4% in our 2016 and 17 budget simulations. But again, that was just a simulation, and it showed our ADM increasing also, which they didn't know it was going to go down. One other thing that I want to show is this is about the protected taxes, the tax caps that we had. The 2,362,000 that we are going to lose this year, if we did not spread it out, capital projects would lose 1.2 million, transportation 905,000, and bus replacement 193. By the board allowing me to spread it out among 5 funds instead of 3, debt service picks up 1.1 million of it, pension picks up 132, capital projects drops by almost half from 1.2 million to 600,000. Transportation drops by half from 905 to 427, and so does bus replacement. We still have the same dollar amount, it's just that we're spreading it out among all 5 funds now instead of 3, okay? So, what have we learned? Local control has eroded. Funds are capped either in the rate or the levy. So this local school board really doesn't have that much control on the budgets anymore. It's all controlled by the state. Enrollment will continue to be a major factor in all of our funding for the general fund because it's all based on ADM. Circuit breaker will continue to impact all tax-supported funds, and unless we get the tax rates down, the assessed valuation up, the circuit breaker will continue to grow. TIF districts continue to grow, affecting tax rates, which affect tax caps. And what really irritates me is that cities and towns can bond and they don't have to go through the same process that we have to go through, meaning run a political campaign. River Ridge is going to do $200 million in bonds for future projects. They don't have to go through it. The city can do all these other things with the tax caps. They don't have to issue, they issue bonds, but they don't have to get your approval to raise your tax rate, but we do. So, questions or concerns? I'll open it up to the board and to the public.
Can we go back to the slide that had, it had the different final tax rates for the different taxing
Yeah, just
entities?
go back up.
It's like maybe 7 back. Keep going.
For the Clark County tax districts, those? Okay. That one, there you go. That one.
Okay, so I went to that same workshop you went to, and I found it very interesting that, just following up on what you said about schools having to ask to increase, to do something like the referendum that's coming up. We have to ask the voters to approve it or not approve it. When you look at Jeff City, inside the flood wall, which is where I live, and you go all the way over to the end, the $3.38 tax rate, it was really eye-opening to me to see that 93 cents, the school tax rate, is you know, in comparison to the city tax rate, we're pretty darn low. Although our budget is bigger.
Yes.
So, I
That's
guess what
because
I'm trying to
Jeff-
say.
That's because Jeff City just has the AV for Jeff City, where we have the whole county.
Right.
Except for West Clark and
Right.
Clarksville.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that when you look at, and I'm not trying to throw Jeff City under the bus, so to speak, but when you look down there,
We need more buses, though.
but when you look down the city-town rate, and I didn't realize this, I guess, until I went to that workshop, the fluctuation in like Clarksville and Charlestown and Sellersburg, all those different cities, towns, and their taxing rate, when somebody complains about their taxes, it seems like the schools are the ones that are kind of hit on the head, whereas we're not really that big a piece of the tax piece, is all I'm trying to say.
Correct, and when you look at your property tax bill now, it'll show you a comparison from 15 to 16 or 14 to 15.
Right.
By all these different groups, so you can
Right.
actually see where it's gone up.
Now, we have to, we project, like you just showed us, and then we will be told how much we can really apply, how much taxes we can really.
Correct. They'll give us what's called a 1782 notice sometime in January or February.
Now, all these other taxing, like the county and the city, town, and the other is like library tax and all that business. Do they have to go through that same process
Yes.
that we're going through?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks. Just needed to know that.
You mean a public hearing?
Public hearing, and then they have to send their projections to
The state. with
the state,
DLGF.
and then they get back what they're really going to get.
You can go on to the Indiana State website. It's called Indiana Gateway System, and you could look up different things. There's a lot of good information on there if you just want to look it up. You can look up TIF districts, you can look up debt, you can look up redevelopment commissions. There's a variety of things that you can look up on there.
It's called, the committee's called Local Government Control. I used to be on that committee, the statewide, and it does have to come before them.
Any other citizens' comments? Mr. McLaughlin, I think I see.
Dr. Dykle, first, if you would, comment on what the impact to revenue might be with the projected increase in proper assessed values. If assessed values go up like is being anticipated, the rate would go down, but does that result in a net zero impact on revenues, or will that somehow benefit those that get revenues from that?
What'll happen is our tax rate will go down. Say if we still need $25 million in property taxes, and say our levy or our tax rate is $1, it'll generate so much, okay? If the assessed valuation is $2 billion, we need $25 million, it generates this tax rate. If the assessed valuation goes up and we still need $25 million, the tax rate will go down. So we'll still generate $25 million, but you'll see a lower tax rate. So what'll happen is the tax rate will come down, the tax caps will come down. So we'll actually get more money. The city, the town, the county, they'll all get more money because tax caps won't be impacting them as much.
That answers that question. And one of your slides, you had talked about, I think it was titled expected appropriation, and you I think said you're anticipating about a $3 million drop in reality. Is that accurate?
Well, compared to where I advertised.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that due solely to a drop in ADM?
Yeah, I just looked at the DPI 54 today before I came here, and I wrote that number down as far as what we're getting from the state, what they're projecting us to get with the current information that was just submitted for our ADM. Because it also affects our complexity index too, which is part of our overall state tuition support.
Board, one of the things that I'd just like to mention to you is that there's a tremendous value or benefit in assessed valuation increasing in our area. And I just think that in the short term, I think it's hard to envision that possibility, but we saw a great example of that in 2015 when assessed valuation jumped by just $60 million. It dropped tax rates by 13 cents when you have a $2.3 billion total assessed value in a corporation. Now, as you look around our area, bridges continue to be built, and one day they'll be finished. We have more, and roads will be finished, and more businesses will continue to move in. That's the jump that you're seeing. The value of all property is increasing. We are in a phase in this area that's unprecedented. There are areas around the state and the country that would do anything for this kind of scenario. So this is a situation where we need to count on the fact that assessed value of all properties will greatly benefit. And when that happens, tax rates for all citizens will decrease. We saw that just simply this past year in 2015. So if we can continue to get these even minimal jumps in value, 50, 60 million, those tax rates are dropping 10, 12, 15 cents a year. And that is significant for us as we're trying to plan on potential building utilization and enhancements in the future. So we are very lucky at this point to be where we are with assessed valuations and looking for continued future growth. That will benefit all of us.
And see, one thing to remember, everything that's going up in River Ridge, we're not seeing a dime from any of that. All that growth, because that's all in a TIF district. So all those buildings, the Amazons and all those other buildings that have gone up, we haven't seen anything. You haven't seen anything as a taxpayer because you don't get the benefit of it either because it goes into the TIF. And it goes back to pay off their bonds that they're selling all the time. John?
I think to follow up on what Dr. Mellon was saying, if those assessed values go up and rates go down, you had talked about a net, kind of that 25 million is what we get, but then you went on to say that the tax caps and everything, and the effect would be that ultimately more revenue would come our way because of that. But I think also, and I don't know, being inside a school facility here, I can say the word referendum, but with regard to the referendum, that also makes those dollars less expensive and more valuable, doesn't it? Yes.
And if I could, Dr. Dykel has been a great teacher. $2.3 billion assessed valuation in our school system. There's $600 million of assessed valuation in the 27 TIF districts that are in the greater Clark County schools. And by some loophole, I think, from the state, it allows that $600 million of assessed value inside of all those TIFs that we get no annual benefit from. The referendum language allows that $600 million to come out, be added to our $2.3 billion. That's now a $2.9 billion assessed value, which then drops the cost of the project. So that's a significant benefit across all of our taxpayers, is at least in a referendum, that's the only time those tax dollars come out, those assessed values come outside of the TIF. And that has dropped the cost of the project.
And really, the other thing is, you know, when they're calculating the tax rate for the referendum, for the $109 million, they're using the most that it could be is the 39 cents, but that's on today's assessed valuation of $2.3 billion. 20 years from now, is it still going to be $2.3 billion? I hope not. It should be much higher because some of these TIFs will close, the assessed valuation will be released, and then the tax rate will come down because of it. But we just need to get these TIF districts to start releasing some of their assessed valuation that they don't need because they're collecting too much in property taxes, and it's building up pots of gold in the cities and towns. And I better shut up before I go any further. I'm going to get on my soapbox about TIF districts. All right, I'm sorry. Any other questions?
Now you have to give the disclaimer.
The what?
Now you have to give the disclaimer, because you have one that's cooperating.
Yeah, well, I'll let Dr. Mellon say that.
Okay. Since I live there, I want to hear about that.
All right. Any further comments? All right. So we'll go ahead and close the public meeting. Move into the regular meeting again. So Renee, please show all board members present. And if you'll join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, Dr. Mellon, I think we have some board salutes tonight.
Yes, sir, we do.
All right.
First of all, we'd like to congratulate Bridgepoint Elementary and Parkview Middle School for being 2 of 8 schools in the state of Indiana to receive school improvement grants from the Indiana Department of Education. Grants are awarded to schools that demonstrate a need for additional funds, as well as a commitment to use the funds to raise achievement levels in low-performing schools. State Superintendent of Public Instruction Glenda Rich stated, grantees have shown a commitment to improving student performance. As a classroom teacher, I understand the importance of providing additional resources to students in our lowest performing schools. That is why I created the Division of Outreach for School Improvement, which provides high-quality support to all schools in Indiana. I am committed to ensuring that all Hoosier students have access to resources and supports that they need in order to be successful both in and outside the classroom. Bridgepoint Elementary was awarded $650,765, and Parkview Middle School received $1,210,769. Funds will be used in a variety of ways, from giving teachers more opportunities for professional development and conferences to potentially hiring new staff members. I have to tell you that it's easy for me to stand up here and read that. I was so proud of all of our schools that participated in a conference with our state. The principals and their teachers did a tremendous job. This was a very competitive environment and for a lot of money. And I can't tell you how proud I am of our Bridgepoint and Parkview staffs for the effort that they put forth just to prepare to put themselves in this position, and then did such a tremendous job of representing themselves and representing our school corporation in that conference. And that won the day. And so at this point in time, it's a small token of appreciation, but very much would like to at least Amy Hasselbring, principal, Parkview Middle School, and Jennifer O'Brien, principal, Bridgepoint Elementary, to come forward and be recognized. Please. Did you guys want to say anything or recognize maybe any other staff members that you may have present?
I actually would. I'd like to recognize Amy Schellenberg, who was instrumental in helping us write this grant and forge through this process. And without her, we couldn't have gotten this far. So thank you for helping us with that. My staff, my entire staff, and my academic improvement coordinator, Barb Toll, who couldn't be here tonight. Her son had a football accident yesterday. So, but just a lot of hard work that went into this, and I appreciate all that help. So.
I, too, have to thank Amy in getting us the resources that we need to think outside the box, put it into a plan, and make it something that could be competitive across the state. Also, I have to recognize my academic improvement coordinator, Denise Elnor, who worked diligently in times that I needed to be elsewhere so that the process could continue. It was a very quick turnaround from the time we were eligible to the time that it was due, and the 3 weeks that we had off, that's what we spent doing. So it's nice.
Thank you very much. The board would like to salute Parkwood Elementary and staff members Allison Walker and Leslie Cocola for their swift action at their school's Family Literacy Night on September 10th. A student had a severe allergic reaction during the event, and the quick thinking of our staff members to administer an EpiPen with approval from her mother was essential in helping the student recover from her reaction. The Clarksville Fire Department was called and arrived to administer oxygen and take the student's vitals. Thank you to our staff members for putting the health and safety of our students first. Again, the words are simple to read. It's one thing to be in a situation that is a crisis. And how are you going to respond to that at a time when a student needs help? I cannot thank Leslie and Allison and Principal Trudy Hedrick was also part of the process. I know she wasn't able to be here tonight, correct?
Yes.
But this is the kind of big heart that our people have for our kids, and in a time of extreme, dire need, they stepped up to help. And so, Leslie, at least on behalf of our school corporation, again, small token of our appreciation, but it means a great deal. And we're very, very proud of you, Allison and Trudy, for doing what was best in the interest of our student there. So thank you so much.
Did anyone from the board want to comment on? No? Okay. All right. We'll move on into the approval of the agenda. Do we have any changes tonight? If not, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Hall.
Second.
And thank you, Ms. Zolman. All in favor? Be 7-0. Thank you. Next is the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. We have executive, regular, and special. I'd like to take those together.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins.
Second.
And thank you, Ms. Kraft. Any questions, comments on the minutes? All in favor? Be 7-0. Thank you. Dr. Millen, any public comments on agenda items?
Not tonight, sir.
All right, thank you. Next is the consent agenda. We have 7 items tonight. I'd like to take those together.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. White.
Second.
And thank you, Mr. Hall. Any questions, comment on agenda items, consent agenda items? All in favor? Be 7-0. Ms. Kraft, gifts to buildings. Would you do the honor?
Yes, it looks like New Washington had a really good time here. It's just amazing to me that that kind of money comes in almost every month. And I'm very pleased and happy that New Washington had 10 people, 10 different organizations donate. And we have a grand total of $11,984.59, and I would like to make a motion that we accept that.
Well, thank you, Ms. Kraft,
Second.
and thank you, Ms. Gilkey. All in favor? Be 7-0. Thank you. We have 3 action items tonight. The first one is a change order number 1 for Jeffersonville High School Radio TV Studios. Dr. Hare?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Pavey. The board approved the radio television studio construction project on July 7th, 2015, and attached is a change order. At this time, the recommendation would be to approve the attached construction change order number 1 for Jeffersonville High School. There are 5 items listed, and just to kind of give you a brief rundown, the first one is electrical coordination, and what that is the athletic department purchased a light that is used for wrestling matches that will illuminate the center ring whenever they have the championships for each weight class, and we needed to help with some electrical coordination to make sure everything is in sync on that. The second one was the demolition of the wood floor, and that was the wood floor where the bleachers go, and it was either going to need to be Martin Flooring Construction do it or the contractors do it. We were waiting to see how the time and who would end up doing it as time got close, and we ended up having the contractors do it. The third one was some concrete piers. We were digging the foundation to actually construct the wall, and as we got down digging in the foundation, we found some additional concrete piers that we were not anticipating, and those had to be removed. The fourth item is a bullnose edge on the countertops, and it was actually flat, is what we had spec'd out, and as we started to lay it out, realized it was going to be some tight quarters, and we were going to, I guess, round them, and they won't have the sharp corners on them as the kids are going back and forth. And then the last thing is just a relocation of a dumpster that we had to move at the beginning of school because we were seal coating the parking lot. So those what those 5 things are. The total is $7,613. There is $50,000 of contingency money, and that's what this will come out of for the project.
So we do have 50,000 still in contingency?
Well, we have 43,000 and some change.
Okay, and
Yes,
this
ma'am.
came out of that?
Yes, ma'am.
Because you know how I am about change
And that's why I wanted
You
to
knew
go
I was
over
gonna
that.
ask
I'm
that
not
question.
sure technically they're change orders, I guess they are, but you know,
Okay,
that's how we do it.
okay,
It
all right.
wasn't like we're changing a big, something we
Just so
overlooked.
we understand each other.
Yeah,
Okay.
I understand.
Great,
That's
okay.
why I went over them.
Okay, I figured that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Gilkey.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Any questions, comments for Dr. Hare? If not, all in favor? Be 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Board.
Next is the PESG contract amendment. Dr. Hare?
Yes, Mr. Pavey, and the Superintendent, Dr. Mel, may want to jump in here too, but basically what we had is in the PES&G contract, we had an incentive for our substitutes, and it was the VIT is Very Important Teacher Program, and we received, we pay those incentives, and once we got the statement for August, we realized that there was quite a bit of money. It was about a $13,000 monthly outlay that we were going to have to do. So we brought PS&G in and we've looked at it. This would be, the recommendation is to approve the attached contract language, and basically what we did is we reduced those amounts in half, and let me explain a little bit why. The majority of where that money was going were at 15 full days. The old rate was $225. Well, what happens is subs have to work 15 days before they take the temporary job. So at the end of 15 days, they get sub pay for 15 days, but then they go to teacher pay. So those folks that were working 15 days automatically were getting this, and they were going to teacher pay. And then the other one was for 20 full days, and those were our permanent subs. Well, our permanent subs work every day of the month. That's why they're permanent subs, and they already get that. So we worked with PES&G to reduce that, and this time that would be the recommendation.
All right, thank you.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins.
Second.
And thank you, Ms. Zolman. Any questions, comments, Dr. Hare? All right. All in favor? Be 7-0. Thank you. Last item is the obsolete equipment for auction. Dr. Dykle?
Yeah, I got some good news here for you.
Going to help on that deficit.
Indiana code says that we cannot just throw our garbage out, our old unused equipment, that we have to put it up for public auction. So we are now overflowing at Cord and Porter, the old Cord and Porter. So I just want to show you some of the good junk that we have that we want to sell. We have overhead projectors, audiometer printers, CD players, overhead projectors, 3 ranges, printers, scanners, exercise bikes, treadmills, desks, chairs, cabinets, tables, all this good junk we want to sell. It's no longer good for us. So we're asking permission to put all this up for disposal, and we want to have an auction on October 17th, and it'll be at Cord and Porter, so we're asking permission. So come out and buy some stuff.
All right.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Gilkey.
Second.
And I think I heard Ms. Kraft first, so we'll go with that. Questions, comments for Dr. Dykle?
Yeah, are these items viewable online? A picture of them or anything?
I don't think so. I don't think we're putting, the last one we did, because it was just a few pieces, it was mainly vehicles and things like that, it was viewable online, but this one, you're just going to have to come there and see it. It's not going to be an online auction.
That was my question.
Will it be advertised?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the auctioneer will place the advertisements, he'll do all that legal advertising for us, and then he'll cut us a check for, you know, our portion of it, and he takes his commission. So.
Further questions?
Does that money go into the general fund?
Yes.
What's the trash can?
Yeah, right. All right, all in favor? B7-0, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is the board reports and requests. Do we have any of those tonight?
I don't have anything, thank you.
All right. So, Ms. Kraft?
No.
Ms. Gilkey?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. Dr. Millen, public comments on non-agenda items?
Not tonight, sir.
Not tonight, all right. Okay, so we have board comments, so Mr. White?
Well, once again, you all have made me proud to be on this board because I'm so proud of our staff and all the work that you do. And I know you go above and beyond in a variety of ways, from hard work to helping others, and I really appreciate that and commend you all on that. Thank you.
Ms. Perkins?
We went to the state school board's fall conference this Monday and Tuesday, and I had the opportunity to go to several workshops and learned a lot and have some information for our foundation board that I think is going to help us. But one of the things that I also learned is that the way we conduct our board meetings, I'm very proud of that, and I'm going to echo what you just said, because not all school corporations bring the staff in and bring the students in and say thank you for what you do and we're proud of you. And one of the sessions was encouraging school board members to start doing that, and I was very proud. I don't remember who was with me in that one. I think maybe you or Christina and Nancy, but I was very proud that we do that. We were just checking it off, saying we do that, and it is one of the highlights. And again, it makes me proud to be on this board to be able to say thank you.
Zolman?
I want to say congratulations to Bridgepoint and Parkview and Parkwood for the excellent work that they do and for being here this evening. And then I see 2 little beautiful babies here, and that is our future, and that's why we're here.
All right. Ms. Kraft?
Yes, we did find out in Indianapolis. We kept saying each and every time we would go in, oh, well, we already do that. Oh, well, we already do that. Why are we here? We kept saying, why are we doing? Maybe we should teach this. And then Dr. Millen ended up teaching one, and he got rave
Yes,
reviews,
he
and
did.
everybody said they wanted him, and we said, no, that's fine. Thank you very much. Go away. But the one thing that I want to point out, I always have some picky thing. I'm so picky. This wonderful blue ribbon committee that we have appointed to find out why we have a teacher shortage and what the problem is, and we all know what the problems are, but they won't admit what the problems are, but we all know that, right? Okay. My argument is this blue ribbon committee has probably 30, 40 people on it. There's one representative south of Indianapolis, one from Evansville. Does that bother you? It bothers me terribly. It's like, we're down here, people. We're all here. Not even Columbus, not even Greenwood. Nobody. Everybody was north of Indianapolis or in Indianapolis. So I guess they will decide why we have a teacher shortage, and we could have told them all along. Thank you.
Mr. Hall?
No, thank you.
All right. Ms. Gilkey?
Oh my gosh. I'm proud of our board. All 7 of us, as well as Dr. Mellon, Travis, and Kim, who's not here, went for our professional development. You know, we expect that of our teachers, and I'm proud that we are all doing that as well. And so, Dr. Mellon was on a panel. He wasn't on, well, he was on a panel, but then he was also the presider, talking about our PRIDE program. People across the state are interested in what we're doing to better our kids, and that feels really good, you know, to know that we're doing something everybody else is aspiring to. And then also our president, Mr. Pavey, was on a panel, and I sat in on both of their sessions, and they both represented us very well. So we have a lot to be proud of, and I appreciate the direction we're going in. So that's all I have for tonight. Oh, and have a great fall break. Yes.
Well, and I just want to conclude again with the situation at Parkwood Elementary. I heard about that a couple of weeks ago, and you know, I kind of reflected on that just a little bit, and they're just doing what they do, and they do it so well they don't even think about it. And here's a perfect example of a child that probably may not be with us today. So again, thank you for everything that you've done, and we know that's just what you do, but we still need to thank you for it. So, Dr. Mellon?
I want to thank the board for attending the conference. I'm always very proud of the fact that all of our board members attended and several members of our team. It shows people, I think, not only here, but it shows people in Indianapolis just how committed we are. And it means a great deal. One of the things I'm very proud of, board, is Metro Manufacturing Day is really a 3-day period of time that's been occurring. It started yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And it's a huge event. We have so many manufacturers in this area. It's a large part of what drives our economy is advanced manufacturing, and there's a shortage of workers in manufacturing. And as you know, we're trying to help develop that future workforce. And so we're very much committed with this whole organization. Well, there were about 580 students from all over the region that have participated in Metro Manufacturing Day, and 240 of those 580 are Greater Clark students. And so not just our students, but our staffs who have really gone the distance. And those 240 students are going to make 380 visits. So there's several of those 240 that are going to go and make more than one visit. And whenever I go and watch our students, they so well represent us. We get a lot of positive compliments. And a lot of that comes from parents. It comes from families with what we're trying to, from our staff, from our PRIDE program. We get a lot of compliments about how our people conduct themselves when they're out in those settings in these manufacturing environments. I just want to thank you. I want to thank all of our students and staff because they do such a great job of representing us. And then intercession is next week, so we'll be serving a lot of students next week. They'll get 20 hours of additional instruction. We have great teachers that are dedicating themselves to that time to help our kids, and again, just another example of what they do for us. And so that'll be Monday through Friday next week. And Charlestown High School, New Washington Middle High, and then in Jeffersonville, not just at Jeff High, but also at Parkwood, North Haven, and Riverside. So it'll be a good week for those kids. Thank you.
All right, thank you. With that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins.
Second.
And second, Ms. Kraft. All in favor? All right, good evening.